All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 306 Fantasy Football Podcast. We're here recording episode number 89, 11 away from the big 100. So that's going to be a fun one when we finally get there. But we got number 89 today for our Wednesday, June 21st episode. And we're recording here on the Monday night, kind of back to our normal routines here. I don't know, other than like some nice weather and summer holidays around the corners here, I can't imagine we got a too heck of a lot going on. I know, Armand, you had your spring camp there this past week, but other than that, what's been keeping you busy?
Yeah, spring camp and then rugby. We started games finally, so played in two in the last week and a half here, and there's one coming up Wednesday. I think I'm gonna have to miss that one because I also am doing my master's and I have my final assessment due next Wednesday, and it's a big one, so I gotta pit in a little bit this week after we record here and focus on that.
The absolute grind. Zach, how about yourself? What's been keeping you busy? I know obviously we're looking forward to the summer holidays here.
Yeah, kind of the same. Well, partly the same as what Armin said. We had fall or spring camp, not last week, but 2 weeks ago. So that was cool. And then just getting ready for next year. Our program is expanding. We're opening up a third classroom in my area. So just busy on transitioning a bunch of students in.
I didn't realize you guys even had two there, Zach. I guess quite a bit bigger school than St. Mary, where there's just a one big FI program. Hey.
Yeah, so we got two right now, 2 rooms of 11. Next year it'll be 3 rooms of 10.
Oh, nice. That's all right. Man, I don't know. Other than me, like dad life's been kind of fun, I guess. First Father's Day, that was kind of nice. I don't know, lots of crying and sleepless nights, and that's just me. That's not even the baby, I suppose. But things have been good. Things have been good. Looking forward to the summer holidays, and then kind of like Armin, just get on the old studious train here. But I was enjoying the sun, and I've been on the golf course a couple times too, which has been kind of nice. So that's been pretty deadly. But getting ready to talk a little football here. This will be a fun one, you guys. We're kind of back in the game show swing of things, and that's what we're doing again this episode. So this episode, we're doing the Price is Right, or the fantasy Price is Right, I guess. But before we get there, we got a couple things to take care of. We got our 22 fresh quick question of the week, and then we also have one quick thing to talk about in insiders and headliners as well, and then we'll kind of get to the main content. So the first thing we're going to do is the quick question of the week, and this one a little bit not so much in the fantasy side, but just a little bit about football here. It is, who is your favorite football player and why? And I guess this is kind of an obvious one, so maybe I'll start this one off, and then I'll let the guys move forward with theirs. They're a little less obvious, but mine's Matthew Stafford. Obviously, as a Lions guy and cheering for him in the Super Bowl with the Rams. Been a huge Matthew Stafford fan. He's just a guy that I don't know. You always want to cheer for. He always gave his all, even when he was super banged up. He still wanted to go out, play, and compete for a team that was, for a lack of better terms, was terrible. When I tell people that, they always think, "Oh, you're a Lions fan. You must have been like, like a Calvin Johnson fan or whatever." And then I did like Calvin Johnson. He was my very first player ever drafted when I started fantasy football. But when you cheer for the Lions, it was pretty easy to cheer for Stafford and a little dark horse too. I'd even put Marvin Jones Jr. in that mix too. I was always a big Marvin Jones fan. Even that was my first jersey. Oh, I had my Calvin Johnson jersey. But when I started actually big time being a Lions fan, that was the jersey I bought, was a Marvin Jones jersey. So that's a little dark horse one in there too.
Jordan, I'll sell you Marvin Jones for cheap, cheap.
Yeah, 2029 fifth Armand. That's what else. I don't even know if I can send you that far, but I'll get it in writing. That's what I can get you.
Make it an actual draft pick, and I'll do it.
Speaking of which, Armand, who's your favorite player?
You say favorite football player, and that made me kind of change my mind a little bit here to thinking Riders and going Chris Getzlaff, homegrown
Oh,
boy from
the old
Saskatchewan, putting up big numbers in the CFL, winning a Grey Cup, or did he win two Grey Cups with the Riders? I think.
two with the
He
Riders and
was,
one with Edmonton, I think maybe, or I think he won three in total, but I could be wrong there.
yeah, and his older brother played in the NHL, so just got to do a little shout out there to that guy because he's big time here in Saskatchewan. But favorite NFL player all time, I put down Adrian Peterson. I'm a sucker for the run game. I like there's a beauty to it. It takes a lot of different things to work well to make it happen and make it go. And Adrian Peterson was one of the best, if not the best, running backs in the NFL so far in NFL history. Could do it all: run, pound. Yeah, great running back and electric when he was at his peak. And you also got to give it to him that he always was professional. I respect that in him, that even when he started declining, he wasn't looking to be a me first guy, right? He was joining whichever team would have him and just being a part of the team and helping coach the young RBs up as well. So maybe we'll see him in the coaching ranks here soon.
What a fun season that was when he right after he tore his ACL and he came back and was breaking records. That was such a fun season to watch him. It just was like seemingly it was like, okay, is he still gonna have it coming off this big injury? Is he gonna come back to peak form? Is he even gonna be able to perform? Wasn't, to the standards of everybody coming back off ACLs like we kind of know now, but and then he comes back and just starts touchdown, 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 touchdown. It was insane. That was a really fun year of watching football. Zach, who did you put down here for your favorite player?
Well, I have two to go off of. All-time favorite player. Might be a bit of a deep cut to some, but it's Teddy Bruschi, former MAC linebacker for the Patriots. Back when I started like cheering for the Pats, watching the NFL in the early 2000s, the Pats offense wasn't spectacular, but their defense was what won them games and ultimately won them a few Super Bowls. So, and that defense was led by Bruschi, just kind of like a do everything linebacker, not spectacularly athletic, but just sneaky good, I guess. It's kind of a cliche, I guess, for a white linebacker, but sneaky athletic. Could get some interceptions, could get a few sacks, always plugging the running lanes. And in 2004, he made his only Pro Bowl. Later that offseason, he had a stroke, and he didn't miss a single game, came back that offseason and played for, I think, 3 or 4 more years. So really like Bruschi. I guess favorite modern player in the past like 10 or so years has to be Gronkowski. Have you guys heard the latest Gronkowski story?
Which one? It seems like every day there's something new on Twitter.
I saw this one 2 days ago. So former defensive end for the Patriots, Jake Beckett, was on some podcast and he was saying in the off season, everybody on the team had key fobs for Gillette Stadium. And Gronk he would go out, get wrecked the night before with his buddies. And he would show up at the facility 3-4 o'clock in the morning, would let himself in. He would go into the like the dressing room, into the team room, make his way to a trainer's table, pass out on the trainer's table. Then 7-8 o'clock comes, the trainers roll in. Gronk's still passed out. Trainers don't wake him. They just roll up his sleeve, hit him with an IV. A few hours later, Gronk just pops up, hits the weights all day, does whatever, and then just does the same thing night after night.
Rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I believe every second of that story. Like, there's not even a part of that's like, oh, he's passed out, you put the IV. No, I don't believe that. Like, I believe every second of that entire story.
And this Jake Beckett guy was like we were tired, like some of us had families, and it's like you're rolling in there and it's like, oh, you guys had a rough night with the kids. I don't know about today. And there's Gronk like knocking on God's door, seeing Christ, and getting pulled through the realm with the IV.
I could just picture him as that Undertaker meme where he's like coming from the dead, his arms are just fully extended. All right, practice time, boys. Oh, that's outstanding. I was surprised, Zach, I didn't see any TB12 in there at all. I thought that would have been kind of a lock in something there, especially, for most Patriot fans automatically they say Tom Brady is their favorite player. But I guess Gronk is probably a close second for a lot of Patriot fans. But that Bruschi one is that's a deep cut for for most. There's probably a ton of Patriot fans that don't even have a clue, especially if they jump to the bandwagon late.
Yeah, I think he hung it up in like '08. I think he was there for that the almost undefeated season, and I think that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's when everybody was just jumping on the bandwagon, so there wouldn't have been too many people that are familiar with that one. Get some insiders and headliners going here. We got finally something to talk about other than a couple cuts and like cuts that were like way after we record. But this one is something we can discuss a little bit, and maybe Armand can give us a little bit of insight on this one.
I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. I'm Ron Burgundy.
Okay, so Armand, we talked about one Vikings running back earlier this episode. Let's talk about another one. I guess former Vikings running back. Dalvin Cook has been officially been released by the Minnesota Vikings, and now has been on the market for a little over a week, and still no official landing spot for Dalvin Cook at this time. Obviously, we are recording on the Monday. This drops within 2 days following this, so there's a good chance that maybe he does sign by the time we're already recording this. But Armand, maybe a little bit of insights here. Obviously, some cap casualty situation here. We're saving some money moving forward into the 2023 season, but obviously he's gonna be finding a new home somewhere. Do you have a little insight or a little speculation on where Dalvin Cook might be ending up this upcoming season?
Well, like everyone's saying Miami, and it would kind of make sense considering that like their backfield right now is Mostert, Wilson, and then a chain, the new rookie, and then some other guys behind him. He would immediately be the RB1 on that team and provide them with a very talented running back who can do everything that they're kind of piecing together with those three other running backs. So Miami would make sense, and he says he wants to go to a team that's going to compete to win. So I wouldn't be surprised if KC was in the mix somehow. They're always connected to guys. And, like it's Isaiah Pacheco there. And if Dalvin Cook comes in, well, Pacheco, you can be the backup and hold Dalvin's water bottle.
I've also,
and then
sorry, go ahead.
Another one that kind of I was looking at the depth chart, and Dallas would be an intriguing option for him with Tony Pollard and then not much else behind him, Malik Davis, Ronald Jones, Deuce Vaughn. So I think Dalvin could fit in well in Dallas as well and not have to have a full workload in Dallas if he was to go there. But yeah, some intriguing options. I like the idea of him going to Miami though and going home and maybe winning a chip for his hometown.
I kind of thought that was the one. I mean, it'd be fun for fantasy too, and I think if it's a good fit for NFL. I also heard a rumor that he wants to go play with his brother in Buffalo, which would be, I don't know, obviously a detriment to those stocks of the other Cook in Buffalo. But Zach, if you had to pinpoint one location that you think would be the best fit for fantasy, where do you think that might be?
For fantasy. Yeah, that Miami one's pretty juicy. Yeah, probably go with Miami.
Yeah.
nothing too too juicy. Like I've heard rumors actually today he wants to go sign with whatever team signs D-Hop. So I guess using that train of thought, I would be happy to have him on the Pats. He can hold Stevenson's jock.
Oh man, that's every time I see the Patriots in some sort of cahoots with or their names being thrown around with some sort of free agent, I just think of that Bill Belichick meme where he's sitting there with the binoculars and it's like,
eating the popcorn.
Yeah. Oh man, every time. Wouldn't that go lock up both those guys and then still have Mac Jones get benched for Zappy later in week 2. I think that's all we got here for insiders and headliners. Once again, it's just we're kind of in those couple weeks here before anything big happens. Thank God, no major injuries have happened at OTA so far. And we start getting into some camps here in the next little bit. We'll get a little bit more news coming here. We got lots of big free agents still. We got Ezekiel Elliott. Obviously, we got Dalvin Cook. We just talked about D-Hop, Leonard Fournette. We still got some pretty substantial names that are free agents here that we'll be finding some homes in the near future. But without further ado, let's get things going here. We're gonna do a little fantasy prices right, and this one it's my turn to sit back and watch Zach and Armand go at this one. And once again, same as last time, I'm gonna propose: are we doing a friendly battle here, fellas, or do you guys want to do something a little mono, a little gambly here?
We could do a little gambly if you want there, Armando.
Okay. Do you guys want to do like
gambling?
You want to do a specific bet, or do you want to do like a wager wheel on socials, or what do you guys have in mind?
Zach, you pick.
Well, I'm not doing the cheeseburgers again. F that.
Why don't we do the loser has to buy the other person a little 4-sack of a crafty of their choice. I guess Zach, you don't even drink crafties no more, eh?
No, off the beers.
Okay, maybe Zach can get like some seltzers then or something if he's
There we go.
4-sack of a treat of choice. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay, and then I get one regardless. You only get 3 technically. It's like tipping your dealer at the casino. Okay, it's just fair is fair.
Yeah, the tax man.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna share my screen here, and we're gonna get this thing going. So as I'm getting this thing going here, for those of you at home that are unfamiliar, if you watch the television show The Price is Right, there's obviously a ton of different games that happen on The Price is Right, and in this one, there like obviously I think there's like 21 games that can happen on The Price is Right. I got as many as I possibly can, and while I'm doing these, I picked a few, and they're gonna go back and forth. There's different ways they're gonna be able to pick up scores, and we'll see if we can crown somebody to be the overall champion. Okay, so we got things set up here. Without further ado, I wish we were doing this on you guys can see at home how good the little digital stuff I got going on here. But Price is Right time. Here we go. Let the beats all go a little bit. Not to play too long there, but Price is Right time. Let's go. So the first thing we're gonna do is contestants row. And on the Price is Right, everybody comes down. There's an item put at the front, and then they have to guess what the item is. And it's called Price is Right rules, meaning you can't go over. If the other person goes over, you automatically win. If they both go over, it's still closest. So a lot of times you'll see somebody bet like $1. It's gonna be a little bit harder for us to do that here in this game. But that's just in case the person goes over, you automatically win. But so both contestants are coming down to contestants row, and they're gonna have to guess the ADP for a specific player. If the person guessed the correct one, they would go on to the next game, and then they would get a chance to win a bunch of prizes. That's how Price is Right works. We'll get down to some of those games in the future here. So the example I put down here is Patrick Mahomes' current ADP. What is it? So you're going to try and guess 2 at the same time. You're going to try and guess his positional ADP, and then also the ADP as if we were drafting in a single quarterback half-point PPR league. So for this example, Patrick Mahomes' current ADP is QB1, and that is the 204. So when these 2 contestants have to try and guess the contestants row specific player, you're guessing the positional ADP as well as the overall ADP, and you get a chance at 2 points. First player is CeeDee Lamb, coming out of a breakout campaign this past season, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. He has another wide receiver joining in town, Brandon Cooks. He also has Michael Gallup coming back healthy, hopefully, and can coming off that ACL and maybe make some contributions here. But CeeDee Lamb coming off the big season. So remember, you're writing down his wide receiver position as well as his current draft position in the 12-team draft.
Okay, locked in, I guess.
Okay, so what'd you boys write down? Start with wide receivers first. Zach, what wide receiver position do you think CeeDee Lamb's in?
I'm going to say wide receiver 6.
And Armand, what'd you put for wide receiver?
Same, wide receiver 6.
Wide receiver 6. And then the ADP, Zach, what'd you put?
Going to say 302.
302. And then what'd you put there, Armand?
206. Being a little conservative, I think.
ADP 112 and wide receiver 6. You both were bang on for wide receiver 6. So you're both going to get a point there. But you were both over on the ADP. This one was really surprising me. I know CeeDee Lamb had a really good season, but wide receiver 112, or overall, 112 is, I think, a little rich for my blood on old CeeDee Lamb this upcoming season. I don't know about you guys, but 1-1, so we're currently tied. Contestant row number 2. We have Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, the running back of the Carolina Panthers, former running back of the Philadelphia Eagles, but finding a new home with a really good a really good offensive line core there, and seemingly, other than the one lone Canadian there, it should be the main man in town. So, what do you think in the current ADP for Miles Sanders is on the new contract? Zach, are you locked?
Oh yeah, we're just shooting from the hip here.
Straight shooter.
Yeah.
Okay, ready.
All right, so we started with Zach on the last one. We'll go to Armand on this one. Armand, what'd you put him for running back position?
RB5.
RB5, that is rich. And then Zach, what'd you put?
RB5. Oh boy. One of us is off. I was gonna say running back 12.
Running back 12. And then what'd you put for ADP there, Armand?
I doubled down with the 5 and put 105.
You think Miles Sanders is being drafted
overall?
I don't want to go over.
Oh man, you're smoking some serious meth.
I'm not gonna draft him at 105. I just don't want to go over. So
you can't operate heavy machinery or drive for the next little bit here.
Did you accidentally swap the 5 and the 1 and think 501, but she panicked and said 105? Zach, what'd you put?
I don't know.
Zach's got to get together.
The CeeDee Lamb one got me bugged, so now I'm going low.
We're live tilting right now.
Like 301.
301. Okay, here we go. Miles Sanders. Current ADP is 505. So if you would have added a 5 instead of a 1 there, Armand, you would have been banging on that one. And he is currently RB21. So Zach gets 2 points there. Armand a little too conservative there, and Zach sneaks in and gets 2 points. Our final contestant row question here is tight end Darren Waller. And this one's a little bit of a sneaky one because Darren Waller historically has been a highly drafted tight end and a big producing tight end. A little bit injured this past season with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now going into a new team, being traded during the NFL draft, and is now with the New York Giants. A lot of people are thinking he's going to be able to come back, but maybe a different offense might take a bit of time for him to progress this upcoming season. And his draft position has dropped a little bit in the past from the past where he was drafted as in those first couple rounds. But has it dropped substantially or just marginally? And that's what Armand and Zach are going to try and figure out here. So, Zach, you got the last couple points here. So we'll go to you first.
I'm going to say tight end 7.
Okay, and Armand?
Yeah, tight end 7.
And then Zach, what'd you have him for ADP?
I don't want to say 105 because that's too much. Let's go. I'll go 6-1.
601. And then Armand, where'd you draft him?
410.
410. All right. So without further ado, Darren Waller is currently the tight end 7. So both of you bang on. You both get a point there. And he is in round 608. So Zach was with 601 was very, very close on that one. So Zach gets 2 points and Armand gets 1 point with the tight end 7 there. So after contestants row, Zach is currently ahead 5, and Armand has 2. Okay, moving on to the next category. Is called danger price. And the way this one would work is you would have 4 items in front of you, and one of the items will you be given like the price. So, say for example, there was a lamp, a water bottle, a TV, and then there's I don't know, a fireplace. You'd be given the number, and you're trying to guess the 4 items of the 4 items. Process of elimination until you have that item remaining. So, say for example, the price was $5. Well, of those items, what would be $5? Most likely the water bottle. So you would guess the fireplace first. It would exit the fireplace. Good. You'll have 2 guesses remaining. Then you would guess the whatever, the lamp, X that one out until process of elimination. You're left with the danger price. So for this one, I'm going to give you an ADP. There's going to be 4 players up on the board. And then you're going to try and guess process of elimination until you're left with the correct one. And how this is going to work is you're going to get 1 point for everyone correct. So if your first guess is right, you get 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. If you get all 4, you sweep the board and get 4 total points. Okay, and Armand, you're behind. So I'm going to let you guess first whether you would like the wide receiver position or the running back position.
Let's go RB.
Okay, so that means we got Zach going first. So Zach, on the danger price here, the ADP is 604 and wide receiver 27. So just a reminder, whatever player it is that wide receiver ADP, you want that last on the board. So on the board here, we have wide receiver Jerry Jeudy from the Denver Broncos. We also have Drake London from the Atlanta Falcons. We have Michael Pittman Jr. from the Indianapolis Colts. And we have Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks. So who is the player you would like to try and eliminate first, Zach?
You did a good job here. You couldn't have put like Metcalf here to give me a softball or anything.
They're all within.
That's in the RBs.
I'll tell you this, same as in the RBs. There's 2 that are like literally back to back to make this difficult. Then there's one that's a little higher, and there's one that's a little bit lower. Just to try and make this difficult for you.
Yeah, if this was like wide receiver 25, 26, 27, 28, I would not be shocked.
It's not that
like
bad.
For a redraft, I think a lot of I view these 4 guys fairly similarly. Obviously, Dynasty, Lockett would take a hit for me at least a little bit long term. And maybe I'm looking at that through a Dynasty owner's eyes here, because I do think Drake London does hold some value here, but I don't know in redraft necessarily if that's still the same. Sheesh. Let's go. Let's eliminate Drake London first.
Drake London is a player to be eliminated. So there's 1 point for Zach. So
okay.
Remaining, we have Jerry Jeudy, Tyler Lockett, and Michael Pittman Jr.
Will Bob Barker give me a lifeline here?
Maybe you can call Armand. I don't know if he's going to help you much, but
let us also eliminate Pittman.
Michael Pittman was the ADP player.
Son of a bitch.
So up on the board here, I placed everybody's ADP. So obviously Michael Pittman is the 604 wide receiver 27. Tyler Lockett was the lowest of them. Not surprising, because it seems like his ADP is always substantially lower than I think every year in his career he has surpassed his actual ADP in fantasy points. He was ADP around 702 and wide receiver 31, which I think is criminal.
His age, I think.
Well, every year it just seems like does really well, and his ADP is terrible. You did eliminate eliminate London, which gave you a point. He was the highest on the ADP, wide receiver 24, around 5'10". And then the 2 that were the side by side was Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver 26, and Pittman was wide receiver 27. But a decent little gap there, about 5 picks or so in the ADP. Jeudy going at the end of round 5, and then Pittman going kind of early to mid round 6. So Zach hit the danger price. Zach does not get to keep all the points, but he did get 1, leaving the door open for a little bit of a comeback here for Armando. So same rules apply to you, Armand, but you chose the RB position. So I'll switch to the next page here. You have running back Aaron Jones from the Green Bay Packers. You also have Alexander Madison, brand new running back there in Minnesota. Obviously, we talked about Dalvin Cook leaving there. It's a little bit of a wild card in the mix. You also have James Conner, running back from the Arizona Cardinals. And you also have your boy you've been talking up like crazy, J.K. Dobbins from the Baltimore Ravens. So same rules apply to you. What you're trying to process, eliminate, and eventually get to is the running back 18 who's being drafted at the 502. So without further ado, Armand, who would you like to process eliminate first?
Well, this one's a tough one too. The guy that I think is probably going highest in drafts, I am gonna. Oh, frick! This is tough. I'm just gonna say it and regret it later. Aaron Jones, kick him out of here.
Aaron Jones is a player to eliminate, so you got a point. Left standing is James Conner, Alexander Madison, and J.K. Dobbins.
Let's kick out J.K.
J.K. Dobbins is also a player to eliminate. So now for a clean sweep of the board, Armand, you're left with Alexander Madison and you're left with James Conner.
Let's go with kick out Conner.
Kicking out James Conner will give you a clean sweep of 4 points, Armand. The ADP 502 is Alexander Madison. He is climbing. Like you mentioned, the highest drafted was Aaron Jones at RB15. Then James Conner at the lowest of RB23. And then back-to-back is J.K. Dobbins and Alexander Madison. And this one's interesting. Like, obviously, you're a Vikings guy there, Armand, but one position ahead of J.K. Dobbins. Who are you taking there? Back-to-back, they're literally back-to-back in ADP and back-to-back in RB positions. If you're put on the spot there, the 502, are you taking Madison or are you taking Dobbins?
I think I'd take Madison actually. Their offense is
like Dobbins too.
I know, but Madison this year I think is a little bit more of a safer bet at the position, even though Dobbins could explode. And actually, I just talked myself into Dobbins. He could explode. We know what Madison is. Dobbins could explode. Let's go Dobbins.
All right, we're tied up 6-6 here going into the next game. So the next game is called Punch a Bunch. And if you're familiar with Price is Right, there'd be a bunch of holes or like circles on the wall. You punch your hand through there and there's like an item. You got to try and guess the correct price of that item. If you get it right, you get the item kind of thing. So in this one, it's very similar. I have 5 players up on there and the ADP. And the ADP that I have placed on there is not correct. So obviously you can either go higher or lower for that person's ADP. If you guess correctly, you get a point. So for the first player we have here is Stephon Diggs. And the ADP I wrote down is wide receiver 7. So you either have to guess higher or lower, and you both have to do this. And then you can both get a point. You can both miss or you can split. Now this is where we can see a swing here because we're both tied 6-6 in round 2. Okay, so Stephon Diggs' current ADP is wide receiver number 5. I thought maybe this one might trick a little bit with all the, he's not showing up to camp right now, and there's the rumors of him not being happy being used in the offense, but it is the wide receiver number 5. And Armand, what'd you put?
I put earlier. So yes.
There we go. Okay, so going into the next one is tight end from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Pat Freiermuth. And I put tight end number 9. Okay, tight end 9. Do you think he's going earlier or later than tight end number 9? We'll go to Zach for this one. Did you say earlier or later?
He is going after tight end 9. But if this was earlier on, I might have said push because this one's tricky. But I want to go after tight end 9.
Do you think he's tight end 10 or later?
Correct.
Okay, Armand, what do you think?
I went earlier.
You went earlier. The correct answer is earlier. He is going at tight end number 8. So Armand jumping back into the driver's seat here after a little bit of a comeback. He's up 2-0 in this particular round. The next player we got here is quarterback Dak Prescott from the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously got into the playoffs this past season. Didn't really go all that well for the Dallas Cowboys. But his current ADP, do you think it is higher or lower than quarterback number 8? Looks like
I'm locked in.
And
Yeah,
Zach,
I'm good.
Okay,
Yep.
so Armand, you got the point here. We'll go with you first. Did you go earlier or later?
I went later on this one.
Okay, and Zach, what did you do?
Yeah, he's going after QB8.
He is currently going as the quarterback number 9, so a point for the both of you there.
That's closer than I would have thought.
The next
I counted it off, and I was pretty close at that point.
There's another guy I was gonna throw in here, but I was like, man, that would have been super hard. Like he was right on the bubble of like that 6-7, and I was like, that's just being too tough. But next player we got here, this one is tough because it depends on what you believe in this player and if he's gonna be suspended or not, and if that suspension, how long, et cetera, and a little bit of a decline this past season. It's running back from the New Orleans Saints, Alvin Kamara, and substantially the lowest ADP he's ever had. As probably it'd be not as low, obviously, than his rookie season, but it feels just as low. Do you think he's going earlier or later than the RB25? Like keeping in mind, like what is there, like 30 teams in the NFL, 32 teams in the NFL.
32. Yeah.
So out of those 32, every team has a starting running back, and to be running back 25, do you think he's going earlier or later? Armand, are you locked and loaded?
Yeah, I'm locked in.
Zach, how about yourself?
You betcha.
Okay, so we'll stay with Armand here, seeing as you both collected. Armand, you go earlier or later?
I went earlier, just barely, probably though. He's probably like RB24.
And Zach, did you go earlier or later?
I think with the suspension and Williams, he is going after 25.
He is going after RB27. Zach, closing the gap here with one left. Our final player here. This one's going to be interesting.
Ooh.
We have Garrett Wilson, sophomore season for the New York Jets. And obviously with the addition of Aaron Rodgers, him playing actually pretty good in his rookie season, we got the wide receiver 11. And this one is one, I guess, do you believe in the New York Jets offense? Do you believe in Rodgers? Do you believe he can take that sophomore step forward? Do you believe there's, how many good wide receivers are going in front of or behind him? And, there's a lot of things to put in perspective here. We got Garrett Wilson as the wide receiver number 11.
I'm locked.
Okay, so we went, Zach got the last point there, so we'll go to Zach first. Zach, did you go earlier or later?
I think he is riding the off-season hype wagon. So I think he's going before 111.
And Armand, what did you say?
I went later.
So this one was surprising. He is going earlier at wide receiver number 10. He's going in front of Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle is wide receiver 11.
What?
And he is currently wide receiver 10. When I was looking at ADP, I could not believe it. What also I cannot believe is we are still, after 3 full rounds, at a deadlock tie right now. We are sitting both at 9 points each. And we are heading into the Showcase Showdown. So this couldn't get any better. And the problem is, Showcase Showdown is we're tied. So I was going to flip. I guess we're going to have to flip a coin because usually the person that's ahead will get to pick the Showcase first. But I guess we'll go with Zach had got the last point. So we'll consider Zach gets the advantage here. So in Showcase Showdown, if you're not familiar, at the very end, there's 2 contestants that are left. The first showcase is shown. The person that won the first showcase is the person that gets to pick, or won the first, spinning the wheel. They get to pick, do I want the first showcase or do I want to leave that for my other contestant and then I want to try my luck on the second one, or vice versa. Okay. So what's going to happen is I'm going to show a list of players and they're going to have to try and guess the total ADP of those players, obviously without going over. Closest wins. If you both go over, then it'd be the closest one from there gets the win. So for my example is Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Tua Tagovailoa. So in this one, Jamar Chase is going first overall in drafts, so he would be 1 point. Jamar Chase is going 3 in most situations. He's going behind Christian McCaffrey. So then Jamar Chase would be 3. And Tua Tagovailoa is player number 95 being drafted, usually kind of around that one, round 7 or so. Once again, this is single quarterback, half-point PPR. So adding those 3 players ADP together would make a total of 99 points. Okay, so does that make sense, you guys?
Yep.
So this is overall ADP.
Overall, not positional. Yeah.
Do you keep the math easy and keep it in the first few rounds?
I kind of went all over the place.
First round only.
So I'll give you a little
on.
bit to look at the players. You can process it, write your number down, and then I'll go to the second one. I'll figure out who obviously is the closest. So Zach, you got the advantage here. I'm going to show you the first showcase, and based on the players, you can choose whether you want to try and guess this one yourself or pass to your fellow contestant. Okay. So the first showcase showdown of 5 players consists of tight end David Njoku from the Cleveland Browns, quarterback Justin Fields, wide receiver Gabe Davis from the Buffalo Bills, running back Derrick Henry from the Tennessee Titans, as well as wide receiver / RB flex, utility guy Deebo Samuel from the San Francisco 49ers. Now, is this one, Zach, that you want to try and tackle yourself, or would you like to pass off to your fellow contestant?
Oh, this is cruel and unusual punishment. I want to pass it off.
Okay.
This is way harder with 5 people. Holy.
So what I'd recommend is tackling at each individual player, what you think they're at, and then just, hodgepodging that number together. Or you can just, same as Zach says, shoot from the hip and just give a random number. I don't know. No method to the madness on this one. But Armand, I'll give you a little bit of time here. Obviously, I'm gonna be talking in the background and diving deep in this little bit here, and I'll give you, I don't know, about a minute or so to process this. But
A minute.
well,
Jeez, I'm figuring out the numbers for each round here first. Come on.
this is going to be like the longest episode possible here. If I'm giving you 25 minutes to calculate some numbers here, this one, I was looking at some of these. This was pretty difficult. Like obviously, there's some guys that Justin Fields, he's kind of climbing the ranks a little bit here in the running back rushing platform. So that's kind of reflecting some of his ADP. But keep in mind, it's still a single quarterback league. So how high is he still actually going? If you think back to the example previous, I talked about Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback 1 right now, but he's not being drafted until the 2nd round, right? So adding the single quarterback into the mix makes things a little bit more difficult. David Njoku, Zach talked about last bit here there about Garrett Wilson, obviously not in the same breath, but the offseason hype. And David Njoku has been a guy that's been getting a little bit of offseason hype around the Cleveland Browns this upcoming season and becoming a little bit more of a pass-heavy offense, possibly, the rumors that have been coming out on Twitter. You got a guy like Deebo Samuel, whose ADP 2 years ago was like super high. And then, last season, like going into last season's ADP was super high after a huge season 2 years ago. But then this past season was a little bit lower. So what's his ADP look like? Derrick Henry, a guy that's been historically early 1st round, but getting older, is that going to dip or is it going to stay the same? And then Gabe Davis is a complete wild card. I got nothing to say there really, but this is difficult. I didn't want to make this too easy. And with us being dead tie, whoever gets the closest is going to be the winner here. So
The Gabe Davis and the Njoku, those are the 2 that really scared me. Like, you can kind of I'm not saying that you can hammer the Justin Fields, but you have an educated guess, and Henry's going probably first 2 rounds, Samuel first 3 or 4, but Davis and Njoku, I could be off by 2-3 rounds a piece. Easy.
Okay, I think I got my number here.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes this really difficult, Zach. But that's once again, if you actually watch a showcase showdown, like it could be a trip for 7 to Hawaii, but the hotels aren't included. There's so many different variables that play in there. So Armand, you got your number written down?
Yeah.
Okay, don't say it. I'll unveil Zach's, and then I'll come back to you, and you can share your answer first. Okay.
Okay.
And to be, just let you guys know, both showcases both have a quarterback, they both have a tight end, they both have a running back, and they both have 2 wide receivers, just so you know. So there's a little bit of consistency. Okay, the second showcase showdown has running back Travis Etienne from the Jacksonville Jaguars, has wide receiver Devontae Adams, has wide receiver Terry McLaurin from the Washington, who knows if they're changing their names again, Commanders, has quarterback Aaron Rodgers on a brand new offense of the New York Jets, and then also Dalton Schultz, tight end, on a brand new offense of the Houston Texans. Not sure if you're happy with your choice here, Zach, or if you're upset, but I don't think either of them would have been easy by any stretch.
Who are the wide receivers for Armand's?
I think he had Deebo Samuel and
Davis.
And Gabe
I
Davis.
feel a little bit better about this one, actually.
Yeah.
I think so.
I couldn't find a picture of Rodgers like photoshopped in his actual jersey that was 12, so I just went with him holding his jersey there.
Just a picture of him in his ayahuasca den.
Yeah, lights off and everything.
Yeah, it's him and the gang. Just a black circle.
This is him making his decision.
Yeah.
So same thing as Zach is starting to calculate his guys here. A little bit of variance in some of these guys, and I was looking at the numbers. Once again, you have high-profile guy Devontae Adams, high draft capital. But now a new quarterback in town, is it going to stay at the high draft capital, or is it going to start regressing? What does the draft community believe in Devontae Adams moving into this upcoming season? And you got Travis Etienne, a guy that coming back off the ACL this last season, kind of had an up and down season, had moments where he really was shining, and then also moments where it was like, okay, he's getting beat up, he slowed down, whatever. Now they also drafted Tank Bigsby. The community a little lower on him, a little higher on him. Where are they sitting? Terry McLaurin, that's a guy that's a complete wild card. Some people really believe in him. Some people really do not believe in him. Some people believe in sorry, got the hiccups there. Some people believe in the sophomore wide receiver there too that might take the leap over Terry McLaurin. And at the end of the day, once again, you're in QB purgatory that the Washington Commanders have been in for the last couple seasons. Aaron Rodgers, a guy that came off the MVP season, a really down year with Green Bay, but like I talked about, his counterpart, his ADP, Garrett Wilson, is skyrocketing. His Aaron Rodgers ADP doing the same, or is it kind of staying where it was before? And there's Dalton Schultz that went from a prolific passing offense in in Dallas, now is with Houston with a rookie quarterback. Dalton Schultz used to be like, he was drafted, I think he was a top 5 tight end last season. Is that going to be the same, or is he kind of plummeted in the draft community? So we got some wild cards in this one too, much the same as Armand had. But Zach, do you have your number locked in?
So to be clear, Armand reveals his first, then I get to reveal mine.
Correct.
Yep, let's go.
Okay, so I'm gonna write these down. Armand, what'd you write down?
For the total, 210.
And Zach, what did you write?
Ooh, that's not bad, Armand. I thought you were going to go a little bit higher than that. You know what? I'm going to play the odds. $1, Drew.
You're playing. Is that what you actually wrote down?
I haven't had pen and paper the whole time. $1.
You're going $1. Unbelievable. Okay. So I don't know if that's worse than Armand's 105.
I'm banking on Armand going over.
Fair enough. Like in the Showcase Showdown, if you're close enough, you get both prizes. But I guess if you had been close enough, you could have maybe got like 4 treats a packs or whatever. But anyways, in the Showcase Showdown here, Armand's is a total of 293. So he was off 83 points.
Well, Armand, you won, buddy.
Yeah, he by a lot.
Okay.
So go ahead, Zach.
I think mine would have been, I had 234. 234. Would have been the number I used.
Would have been pretty close. I'll find out here in a second. But just briefly going over the ADPs here. Obviously, people at home can't see on our screens what we're looking at. But David Njoku, ADP of 92, which you're going to find out in a second is actually higher than Dalton Schultz is in Houston. So a little bit of a kind of a different ADP there. That was throwing a little wrench in the plans, kind of like Zach had thought. Justin Fields, ADP 47. I think he's currently the quarterback number 4 being drafted, if I remember correctly. Gabe Davis, 101. A little bit of a wild card wrench in there. Wasn't sure what people think of Gabe Davis. I still think 101 is a little too high, but it's neither here nor there. Derrick Henry, ADP 16. That's a little bit lower than obviously historically, but still a top 2, back end first, early second round draft pick. And then Deebo Samuel, ADP 37, same as kind of what Zach said, in that 2-3 range. So a total of 293 total points of ADP.
Fields, Henry, and Samuel, I was within single digits of in my calculation. But Njoku and Davis, I was off by like 30 each.
There's exactly what Zach had thought. And then Zach showcase was a total of 311. So that would have been like actually pretty close. Don't have the exact numbers here as I'm starting to get my stuff together here, but let's see. 311 subtract 234 would have been 77. Zach, you would have actually won if that was your legitimate guess. So take that with a grain of salt. But Travis Etienne, ADP 31.
Trying to get cute.
A little bit of an earlier pick. Same with Devonta Adams, ADP 14, early on still. And then it starts getting a little shakier. There, Terry McLaurin's ADP 50. Aaron Rodgers, ADP 113. He's getting drafted like the 10th round in single quarterback league. So if you think that that Jets offense is going to move forward, I think he's a substantial steal as a late round quarterback. If you think, that Rodgers and the Jets are going to be legit this upcoming season. And then Dalton Schultz, this was a surprising one, ADP 103. A guy that was tight end 5, or higher this last 2 seasons. And then this upcoming year, he's being drafted, in the 9th, 8th-ish round. It's very late for a guy that has that much potential with a rookie quarterback. But a total of 311. If Zach would have picked 234, he would have won 83-77. But trying to play the Price is Right rules, sometimes those people that pick the $1, they stay on the they stay there for a little while until they get a chance on the next round. And Armand is the winner of this year's fantasy prices.
Oh yeah, baby.
So I guess take that there, Zach. Guess
I
haven't got to do a whole heck of a lot this episode other than just talk and produce this a little bit. But it is my turn to do my turn for hot takes. So I guess without further ado, I'll get this one going. So this one I kind of pondered. I wanted to go a little fantasy here. And I guess this is, it's in the dog days where there's not a lot going on, and without really diving into some of my stuff I was kind of looking at this upcoming off season. I'm saving some of my fantasy takes for if there's some injuries. I've been bit in the butt on a couple of those ones, but this one is one that I was looking at the betting markets, and that's kind of where my mind started going here on the division winners, Super Bowl winners, amount of playoff games you might win, et cetera, et cetera. And one of my favorite ones of betting right now is the Detroit Lions, obviously because Lions fan, that's a bit of a shocker there. But the betting markets don't really reflect some of the things I'm going to talk about. They are the favorites. Them and Minnesota are kind of neck and neck, but Detroit still is the favorite to win the division. And then after that, it's kind of like, okay, well, Super Bowl favorites. If I remember correctly, I didn't write it down here, but I was just looking at it. I think it was like the 10th or the 12th best odds, which like when you think about 32, like 10 or 12, that'd be like they'd be a fringe playoff team. They'd be one of like the back end playoff teams. So my hot take here is that Detroit Lions are going to have once again a top 10 offense this season. They are gaining a lot of the same players again. There already talks that Jared Goff might get a contract extension. The thing about Jared Goff is he doesn't have to be spectacular for this offense to be dynamite. They brought in David Montgomery, which I think is a plus, obviously on Swift with the injuries and everything that he's had to overcome this past season. But they brought Montgomery in, who like in Jamal Williams, potato. I think David Montgomery brings more to the table than Jamal Williams does. And then obviously Jahmyr Gibbs, who's going to be able to take over that Swift role and then some, and playing out in the slot. I think that's a plus for that offense. You got Amon Brown still there. Jameson Williams is going to be coming back off of he's going to be coming back healthy. He's also going to be coming off suspension. So this offense is taking a step forward, especially with the addition of Sam Laporta. I think there's going to be a lot of play action. I think there's going to be a lot of run first offense, which is going to open up those passing options. So even if Jared Goff isn't this huge fantasy option again, I still think the offense is going to be top 10. They have one of the top 5 offensive line groups in the NFL. So that one I think is a bit of a gimme, but adding it to all these extra pieces is what's going to make it spicy. So I also think they're going to win the division, which might be a hot take in some people's eyes itself. Chicago, I don't think they have much of a chance in this race. Green Bay, depends, I guess, what happens with Jordan Love, and then the rest is just between them and the Vikings. So I think Detroit kind of got snubbed a little bit early in the season. Took obviously huge steps forward and should have made the playoffs this past year. But I think they are going to make the playoffs, obviously winning the division. And then to put the cherry on top, they are going to win their very first playoff game since 1991. They've made a few playoff appearances since. I remember being very, very upset sitting in my college house in Sutherland as they got absolutely wrecked by the officiating in the Dallas game. I remember being so frustrated and so many people texting me during that game being like, what is happening? I can only imagine how mad you are as a Lions fan. And I was like, how my TV made it through that game is an anomaly. I don't understand, to be honest. So I do think Detroit is going to not only be a top 10 offense once again and massive fantasy production in all avenues. I think they're going to win the division. And then I also believe that they're going to win that game. I was looking at even if they were the 4 seed and winning that division, they'd end up probably playing like a team like the Giants, maybe Seattle. Those are the types of teams that they would end up possibly playing. And I kind of like my odds in that situation with the Lions, especially if they're going to maintain a top 10 offense. And the additions of several players throughout the draft and free agency in bolstering a better defense. I just think this is a better, well-rounded team and a team that's kind of bought into this Dan Campbell, regime or mindset. So I don't know if that's a bit of a gimme, but I guess you're throwing 3 things in there, and there's no such thing as a log parlay. So I'm parlaying 3 things together here. This one sounds a little bit better than my Baker Mayfield parlay I threw together last offseason. So this one a little bit better. But I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that one, especially Armand, as a Vikings fan, you can suck on that one.
Yeah, not a chance they're in the division. Like, come on, get out of here.
Well, yeah, Justin Jefferson can only do so much. You know for sure. You know for sure. I haven't looked at the schedule, but you know for sure if there's a primetime game, you're taking the loss there. You could just put that in the books.
He turned that around last year. He won most of his primetime games, I think.
Yeah, doesn't sound super.
And we have Jordan Addison now, and Cook, who is on the decline's gone. So it's Madison and Chandler and Dwayne McBride. And, yeah, I should stop naming RBs.
Just to say those names aren't giving me a lot of confidence.
No, but you know what? They did have a pretty good offense last year, and with the way the division is right now, I think it's definitely a good opportunity. They could definitely make the playoffs, and winning the division, I think, or make the playoffs and win a game. You never know in the playoffs, and they could win the division. It'll be tight with Minnesota. I'll concede that. It'll be a good race to the finish.
That's the one I think's gonna be the hardest part. I think the top 10 offense is kind of easier said than done, but I think it's going to be the part that's the easiest to hit. But I think they make the playoffs to win a game. But are they going to win the division? Because they can still win a playoff game by getting in as a wild card. But are you going to win the division? I think that's going to be the hardest one to get here. But that's just my thoughts. Anything to add here, Zach, before we wrap this episode up?
Nope. That's always my favorite part of every episode, listening to the NFC East corner.
Hey, NFC North.
Or NFC North corner, pardon me.
Yeah, kick rocks.
Yeah, suck on that, Patriots. Get 4th place, buddy. That's going to do it here for us for episode number 89. Thanks for listening for this one. We're going to be coming back with, I think we have another game show on the docket here for the upcoming one, but you're going to be hearing from some really happy dudes because next episode is going to be right in the middle of summer break. So we're going to be pretty excited, but regardless, thanks for listening to episode number 89 on behalf of Zach, Armand, and myself. Thanks for listening. Take care, everybody, and let's talk soon.